Hi everybody, I chose macrame as my craft. Macrame is something I've been interested in for a while. I've seen a lot of different wall hangings and stuff like that, so it's something I was definitely interested in and wanted to know more about. Macrame would fall under the leisure occupation while focusing on the leisure participation because it's something that one has to plan out and have all of the right materials for. It's not just something that most people have in their house. Like, for example, I started off something small, like a keychain, and I definitely would have to go buy this part. It's not something that I would have laying around my house. It's the little keychain part. And I wanted to start off with something small because I wanted to make sure I kind of knew what I was doing before I jumped into something bigger. And it gave me a lot of background knowledge. It doesn't look the best, but I think if I were to do one now, it would look a lot better after I've had more practice with it. I needed, for my tools and equipment and supplies, I needed scissors, I needed tape. Tape held down the rods. I needed rods, I needed the macrame cord, I needed the keychain part, of course, and basically just something that was like a table that was reliable and sturdy enough to tape the stuff down, because you want it to be held down tight so whenever you tie your knots it doesn't like go all crazy on you. And that was pretty much it for that. One thing, oh, and a clipboard. I needed a clipboard for the keychain because it held the like flatter end. It held that down, the clipboard part, it held it down, so whenever you pulled on it, it didn't move and it just stayed there, which was nice. I did my activity at work during nap time. I work at a preschool, and so during nap, I usually color or read, something like that. So this was actually a great activity to have for that time span. And whenever I was at work, I would tape the rods down to the table on both ends. I don't know if you can see. And it helped hold it in place so the knots would be tight and not super loose. Whenever I would do it at home, I would typically do it at my boyfriend's house because it was an activity or something I can do while seeing him. We're both in school, so it's hard to see each other, and so it was an easy thing to do while still being able to talk to him and socialize. Whenever I was at his house, he actually has tractor stools, like tractor chair bar stools, and there's little slots in each chair, and there's like a bunch of different slots. I don't know how to describe it, but it was easy to hold the rods in place. This was actually one big rod, but I ended up cutting it with the saw. So I made this piece here. This was my first wall hanging piece that I decided to make, and I needed the saw to cut these. And as you can see on this one, this end is still a lot longer because I wanted you to be able to visualize why you would need the saw to cut the rod down a little bit. I actually haven't finished this one either. I stopped right here, and so I will have to go in and do this side of it because this side is not completed. Whenever I got to the end of this one, I decided to undo the cord itself, and so it made it kind of like frayed at the bottom, and I think it's really pretty. This was actually what I did after my keychain. My keychain doesn't look very good, but I feel like this one turned out pretty decent. So with the knots, you just do square knots. So a whole square knot would be with these four. Everything's done in 2s and 4s. There's never like a single anything. And when cutting your cord, you have to make sure that it's in increments of 4. So 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24, so on. I actually had a lot of fun with this, so if macrame is something you're even considering, I would really recommend it because it was a lot of fun, and I feel like now I can use this for my, like, for future gifts for people and stuff like that, so that's a great idea for you. For body structures, you would use your eyes and your ears, and muscle movement is very important because you have to be able to tie these knots and make them tight enough. There was a lot of work put into it. For a safety hazard, if it's an elderly person, make sure that they have someone else to work the saw for them. I wouldn't really recommend an elderly using a saw because it takes a lot of like slow concentration, and you don't want to hurt anybody or mess anything up. For grading down, one way I could grade it down sorry, would be with like the keychain. I started off small, didn't want to go all big yet, wanted to make sure I could figure a little bit of it out first. For grading up, you could definitely add way more cords to make a giant wall hanging piece, and it would be super pretty, but it would be a lot of work. For an outcome from this project, I found something I really enjoy and something that I would recommend to others. So if this is something you're considering, I would highly recommend it. And thank you.